Welcome back everybody to our lecture 25 of microprocessors and microcontrollers. In our today's class, we'll be talking about the pin diagram of 8051. In that one, we will be more specifically checking out the I/O ports of 8051 in detail. In our last class, we have talked about the architecture of 8051. We'll be having a brief recap of what that particular architecture gives us, and then let us continue into the discussion of the pin diagram of 8051, and we will also elaborately talk about the I/O ports of 8051. So the architecture diagram of the 8051 microcontroller is what we will be having a brief recap of, and then continuing that one we will talk about the pin diagram, all the different signals on 8051 and the I/O ports of 8051 in detail. So this is the architecture diagram of 8051. In this one, on this particular side, you can check it out. We have a ALU of which it is connected with the PSW. The outcome of the ALU is always indicated and stored in the PSW. PSW is the program status word. It is similar to the flag of 8086. And there we are having the register accumulator A and register B here. Two temporary registers are there which are given or storing the operands of the ALU for operations. And here we have the RAM memory, okay, and a RAM memory address register, okay. And here a timing and control unit block is there which handles all the timing and signaling requirements into the internal modules of 8051. On this side, I have another set of registers. In this one specifically, this is stack pointer. Its job is to point the addresses in stack memory. Here is a program counter. It is similar to the instruction pointer in 8086. This PC incrementer job is to every time increment this particular register PC on a successful execution of every instruction. DTPR is used for pointing the data memory connected externally. We know that 8051 has an internal 128 bytes of data memory, that is RAM, but always you can interface an external memory to it. And at that time, this DPTR register will be used for pointing the data in the external memory. The program address register is used for generating or having the addresses of the program instructions. Okay, these are a few more special registers available. About this one, we will be talking in the register organization topic. Here, this side, we can see that latches and buffers are there for 8051 ports. 4 ports are there: port 0, port 1, port 2, and port 3. All of them, each one of them is a 8-bit sized port input and output. That is, bidirectional ports are there. And here, finally, you will be having an interrupt, timer, and serial communication and memory control blocks or modules will be there within this one. And they all have a signals coming and connected to the port 3, because port 3 functions are dual functions. It provides the signals for interrupts, timers input, and read-write operations for the memory. So that is why these blocks are connected to the port 3. We shall see that one in the pin diagram, okay? And towards the end of this lecture, we will be talking about the special functions of port 3. All detail, we will check it out. This is another view of the same thing, the architecture. Here also the ALU is there, temporary registers are there, accumulator is there, register B is there, RAM address register. These two ports of two of them are here, another two ports are here. Okay, they are arranged in the format of the how they appear in the pin diagram also. In the pin diagram also, you will find that port 0 and port 2 will be on one side, and opposite to it, port 1 and port 3 will be there. And all these other registers already we have just now talked about are also available this side. Continuing the pin diagram here, the pin diagram of 8051 shows that it is a 40-pin DIP structure. Out of that 40 pins, 32 bidirectional I/O lines itself we are having. Port 0 is 8-bit port. Similar to that one, port 1, 2, and 3 also are 8-bit ports. So altogether, 32 of the total 40 pins are allocated or given to this I/O lines itself. Okay. But anyhow, our port 0 has an special function assigned to it, that apart from having the functionality of I/O port, it also has this functioning of the address and data lines. That means apart from being this I/O lines of port 0, these lines are also be used for the address lines A0 to A7, the lower byte of the address lines, and the data lines D0 to D7. Here we are having data lines or data bus in 8051 is a 8-bit sized, and address bus is a 16-bit size. Out of that 16 lines, 8 lines are a time multiplexed with the data lines here, and they are assigned to the port 0. And here, as we can see, that only the 8 lines of address lines are given with the port 0, A0 to A7, but address lines are total 16. So another set of address line bits, that is address line A8 onwards till A15, are assigned to port 2. So port 2 lines, they work as a bidirectional IO lines. Apart from that, they work as a higher byte of the address bus, that is a line A8 to A15. Okay, and obviously the about port 3 we have already seen once, that it has a very important functionalities assigned to it, that is your serial communication lines are available on port 3 itself. Your interrupts, external interrupt lines are available on port 3. Your timers 0 and timer 1 inputs are available on port 3. And your memory control, that is read and write signals, are also available on port 3. So when we talk about the total all pins of this, so out of 40 pins, 32 are the bidirectional input output lines, and remaining 8, when we talk, out of that 8, obviously 2 pins are the power supply pins, VCC and ground, that is your pin number 40 and pin number 20 here. So remaining are the 6 lines. Those 6 lines, out of that 6 lines also, 2 lines are these your oscillator connection lines. This is a very important connection you have to understand today. We'll check it how the oscillators are oscillator is being connected in the 8051, and in what way we can use the internal clocking circuit of 8051. And if you wish to not to use the internal clocking circuit, if you want to connect a complete oscillator set from the outside, how it can be connected, that also we shall see. And other than that, we have one reset pin available here. Okay, and the last 3 more pins will be about your external access. EA bar signal will be there, ALE signal will be there. ALE is similar to the ALE of 8086. It is address slash enable. Okay, this is meant for demultiplexing this AD lines. Okay, AD lines, they have a dual function, that they work as a time multiplexed basis, address lines and data lines. So ALE will be used for demultiplexing that address and data values on that particular lines. Okay, it is similar to what is there in the 8086. And one more is the PSEN bar. PSEN bar is a abbreviation for program store enable. So program store enable, what is that one? We will see in detail that these all pins. So let us continue discussing about the pins. And to understand, we have make the groups of the all the pins of 8051 into 4 groups. In the first group, we will be talking about these total 4 pins. That is your VCC, ground, the power supply pins, and 2 of your oscillator connections, that is XTAL1 and XTAL2. XTAL is an oscillator, that is an abbreviation for oscillator thing. So XTAL1 and XTAL2, that is pin number 19 and 20, these are the oscillator pins, how they will be used and how the oscillators are connected, and in what way the configuration is there, we shall see. And about talking about the power supply, it works on 5 volts of power supply. This 8051 works on 5 volts of power supply. So talking about this XTAL1 and 2 pins, here you can see that 8051 has an on-chip oscillator. We have already discussed in the features also. But it is a requirement that you have to trigger that internal oscillator circuit by an external clock thing. So how can we generate an external clock? We can generate an external clock by having an quartz crystal oscillator connected outside. And when you have to connect that quartz crystal oscillator, it has to be connected at the pin number 18 and 19. That means in between the pin number 18 and 19, that is your XTAL1 input and XTAL2 input. These two are the oscillator inputs. So in between these two, this is a crystal, okay, crystal oscillator connected. So it has to be connected in between these two. Apart from the crystal oscillator, it also requires that you have to connect 2 capacitors of 30 picofarads value. So here one capacitor is connected here, and another terminal of the oscillator is connected with the another capacitor, and the other terminals of the capacitors are shorted and admitted to ground. We get our clocking triggering at the XTAL2 signal. Okay, the clock triggering which we are required to make a use of the internal clock internal oscillator circuit of 8051. Here we will get that signal XTAL2. Okay, so this configuration is one in which you want to use the internal oscillator circuit. So that was about the first group of pins, the 4 pins what we have seen, 2 of the oscillator pins and the 2 of the power supply pins. In our second group of pin, we'll be talking about the reset pin, pin number 9, reset pin. So here, what exactly happens on reset? It is an input pin. Obviously, we have to make a 8051 reset means it should be input pin, which will make that particular device a reset. Okay, and it's an active high. Normally, it will be low. Whenever you want to reset, you have to give a high signal there, and that high signal should be given at least for 2 machine cycles. Unlike in 8086, where the reset signal was meant to be high for 4 time states, but here it is has to be made high for 2 machine cycles. 2 machine cycles, it should be in machine read or machine write operation cycles. Okay, here it is in power on reset. Here always whenever we switch on for working this 8051, power on making power on, it will reset itself. So power on connection also, power on reset connection also will be shown to you just after this. Upon applying a high pulse at the reset pin, the microcontroller will reset and all the values in the registers will be lost. Reset values of the sum of the 8051 registers will be shown to you towards the end of this particular lecture, where we will be seeing all the different register statuses upon reset. Okay, we will see the reset value of all the different 8051 registers upon reset. Also, we'll see that how the input output ports will behave upon reset. So here the circuit connection for the power on reset system. Power on reset, whenever we have to do on making the system 8051 on, it should reset itself. So this is the configuration how it is connected. Okay, oscillator connections are shown at pin number 18, 19 like this. 2 capacitors are there. One configuration is there, one capacitor and one resistor circuit is there here, and one signal is on one line is taken and connected to the reset signal there. Okay, whenever you give a power supply at VCC, it will reset this, and this R and C circuit will make sure that the reset is high for at least 2 machine cycles, such that the whole system gets reset. And one important thing shown here, that EA is made to VCC. Why it is made, we will see that on in our next particular group of pins to be discussed. So talking about that EA pin, why it is made high in this case is that earlier we have seen that in the pin diagram also, while indicating the name of the IC, we have written it is 8031/8051. Why? Because the 8031 and 8051 are completely same in the manner of internal circuitry and all the different modules and all the features, except one, that this 8031 does not have an internal ROM. So whenever we do not have an internal ROM, we have to connect an external ROM. In that cases, we require some signal which will be used for connecting that external ROM. So that is your external ROM. How it will be enabled? So this will be enabled by this EA pin. So EA pin is connected to the ground to indicate the code is stored in the external memory. Okay, and it is used for your 8031 or 8032 because there is no internal ROM in that 8031 or 32. These are different versions of 8051 family only, pre-versions of 8051. Okay, for 8051 this pin has to be connected to VCC because here we have the internal ROM, but always we can extend that memory for 8051 also externally. So in the cases whenever you are having external memory connected to the 8051, and if you want that external memory to be a ROM memory, you store your programs there, that time you have to make this particular EA pin ground to access that external ROM memory. PSEN bar, the name suggests that it is a program store enable. This pin is an output pin and it is connected to the OE, output enable of the ROM. Okay, generally external ROMs whenever are used, that external ROM should be output enabled with the help of this PSEN bar. So basically both this EA and PSEN will be used in the cases where you are having an external ROM IC connected into your 8051 system. Okay, generally we do not require, but whenever we require to extend our memory, the ROM memory, we use that external ROM memory in these cases. Otherwise, internal we have a 4 kilobyte of ROM. Okay, so these two mentioned pins are generally used for external ROM connections in the 8031 microcontroller because it does not have an internal ROM at all. So in our last set of pins discussions, the last pins remaining when we talk, it is about the ALE pin and then the IO pins. Okay, all the IO ports we shall discuss in detail. So here ALE pin, it is an address slash enable. It is used as an output pin and it is active high. Okay, and 8051 port 0 provides both the address and data lines. We have seen that in the pin diagram. So to demultiplex this particular address and data lines, AD lines, this ALE pin will be used. Okay, we have seen earlier also in 8086 that how that ALE pin was used. So whenever the ALE pin is high, and that time the AD lines will be carrying address. So that will make the corresponding internal latch which stores the address, okay, will be made high, so that the address is stored throughout the machine cycle, and address of the data communication is not lost throughout one machine cycle. One machine cycle indicates one write cycle or one read cycle. Next is our IO ports. IO ports, total 4 ports are there. Earlier also we have listed them. Port 0 is there, port 1, port 2, port 3. Each one of these port has 8 pins. Okay, so we call that one as 8-pin port. Okay, or 1 byte ports. All these IO pins are bidirectional because we have seen that they can be used as input or an output pin in the features of 8051 also. It was listed. So these are the bidirectional IO pins. So when we say that these are the bidirectional IO pins, how they are designated, how these individual bits of them are designated. So port 0 pin numbers are 32 to 39. Port 1 is pin number 1 to 8, 2 is 21 to 28, and port 3 is pin number 10 to 17. And they have indicated as P0, P1, P2, P3. And individual pins inside that one, they will be indicated as P0.0 for the first pin of the port 0, and P0.7 will be the last pin of port 0. That further naming and configurations you can see. This naming can also be used as it is, as given that port 0.0 can be used in the programming also. Suppose I want to set that port 0.0, I'll simply write set bit port 0.0. That particular instruction will make the port 0.0 pin, okay, the LSB bit pin of the port 0 as 1. Examples of how the naming goes on in this internal port pins are being given here. Okay, each one of these pins are bidirectional and they are individual programmable, bit programmable. That means individually you can make a particular pin, input pin or output pin as required. Here we'll be checking out now the hardware structure inside that IO pins or IO ports. Specifically, we'll check it pin only one by one. Every pin will have same type of hardware inside the 8051. So each pin, IO pins or IO ports has a internal CPU bus connected to that pin, because that internal CPU bus will take the data required to be communicated upon that pin. So data sent out or received data will be always be there on this particular internal CPU bus. D latch, one particular D latch will be there. About D latch, I hope you already studied in the previous semester, so you know how the D latch functions. Anyhow, we'll have a brief recap of this particular thing also to be shown and understood. Two tri-state buffers will be there. About tri-state buffers also you might have studied earlier. Tri-state buffers are used for they are simple buffers only. A buffer register, you can assume that it will be a back-to-back connection of two NOT gates. Okay, once NOT operation, another NOT operation will make that knotting upon that particular variable as nullified. So basically, buffers are the delaying device. Tri-state buffers will be used for disconnecting that that buffer from the whole circuitry virtually disconnecting, connecting, or electrically disconnecting that particular buffer from the circuit. The third state, high impedance state, it can go into. One more thing we'll be having in the hardware structure of IO port is that one transistor will be there called as a gating transistor M1. Okay, TB1 and TB2 will be the tri-state buffers 1 and 2. There will be a D latch, there will be internal bus, and this particular transistor named as M1 will be there for every pin. So this is the configuration of the internal hardware regarding each pin. So specifically, suppose when we talk about the port 1 particular pin X could be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, anything. Now, how it is connected, the things will be there that there will be a D latch like this. There will be this tri-state buffer TB1, tri-state buffer TB2. These tri-state buffers individually, they are driven by this read pin and read latch. These two signals are very important because these two signals will be coming from the internal processor of the 8051, such that whether it will be a reading operation or writing operation will be driven by these three particular lines, that is read latch, read pin, and this write to latch. So these three pins will be driven from the processor side to carry out the reading and writing operations upon a particular IO pin. Okay, just have a look upon this one and try to understand the configuration connected here. Internally, the port 1, port 2, and port 3 will be internally pulled to the VCC. Internally, they will be pulled to VCC, but port 0 will not be internally pulled. Why it is and how it is? If it is not internally pulled, then what solution could be made about that one? We will see. But as per now, you understand this is a gating transistor M1. Okay, two tri-state buffers and D latch. D latch clock is driven by the write to latch signal, and the tri-state buffer 1 and 2, they are driven by the read pin and read latch signals coming from the processing unit of 8051. So here, what is the job of each particular thing? So internal CPU bus communicates with the CPU. It gives the data communication between the CPU and that particular pin. D-latch. D-latch, it is used to store the pin value, the value for that pin. So it is controlled by the write to latch signal, because that write to latch signal is becoming a clock to that D-latch. Earlier in the diagram we have seen it. Okay, write to latch, whenever it is one, the write data onto the D-latch will happen. We are talking about writing the data onto the latch and not to the port. Okay, because sometimes when we are reading, that time also it will be writing to that latch such that read whatever we have done, the data could also be stored into the latch. We will see the whole configuration and understand the write and read operations on the IO ports and specifically IO pins. So this is the D-latch understanding before we continue. So D-latch, D input will be there, clock will be there, Q bar output will be there. You see that every clock trigger, it is negative, edge triggered D flip-flop, or D, when it is edge trigger, we call that a flip-flop only, okay? So when it is negative triggered, you can see that whatever the data input is there, that will be the next state of the output. So here, at this particular triggering point, you can see that the data D is high. So that is why the next state of Q, earlier was 0, next state of Q became 1. Similarly, on this particular trigger here, you see D is 0, and such that the Q becomes, initially it was 1 here in this case, because of this 0 here, next state of the Q becomes 0. So this is the D latch or D flip flop, we can say. About the next two things, that tri-state buffer. So two tri-state buffers are there, one gating transistor is there. So tri-state buffer TB1, it is controlled by read pin. We have seen this one in the diagram shown earlier. So read pin will be 1, and it will be 1 really when we are reading the data present at that pin. So for reading operations, this read pin will be, read signal will be made 1 from the processing unit of 8051 to indicate that these are reading operations. Okay, TB1 is controlled by read latch, and here read latch will be 1 whenever we wish to read the value from the internal latch and not the pin. Okay, reading from pin is different, reading from latch is different. How they are different, we will see in the whole operation. Next thing is that there is one transistor T1, and generally this is a gating transistor to just allow the pass of that signal from that gating transistor or not. So if the gate is 0, gate terminal of the transistor is 0, the transistor whole circuit will be open circuit, no connection will be there, and transistor gate, if it is made 1, the circuit will be closed, the current will flow through that transistor. So these things you have to understand, and now the operation of read and write we will see upon that port pin, any pin of the port 1. Same applies with any pin of the port 2 and port 3 also, but in case of port 0 it will be slightly different because this internal pull-up will not be there. We'll talk about that one also later. Anyhow, this is the signal. Now you can understand that this read latch, when it is high, we are reading the latch, reading from the latch, and same value is being stored into the latch, because this signal flow into the TB2, you can check it. But when it is read from pin, you can see the signal flow coming from pin. It is being moving into this buffer, and then from their buffer into this D latch. So D latch can get the value either from this buffer or this buffer. Okay, and write to latch is a signal clocking circuit for this particular latch. Now we will see the read and write operations. We'll start with the writing 1. Whenever you want to write 1 onto the particular pin, writing 1 is sending the data as logic high onto that particular pin from the microcontroller. So here what is happening, the internal CPU bus is taking that 1. It is getting that 1 because that is internal CPU bus is a job of the internal CPU bus is to have that data communication with the CPU. So that brings that 1, and D is 1, and obviously we are doing the write operation. So write to latch will also be triggering this clock. So the 1 will be coming at D, and the clock is also triggered. The next state of that D flip-flop will be 1. Okay, next state will be 1, and it will be continually given to this only because we are reading the latch operation only. Writing the pin is equal to reading the latch in this scenario, because read latch will be doing the writing the pin operation, because it stores that thing which is coming from the CPU in this latch till we can send that one out. Obviously we'll be sending that one out. How? Let us check it. So when this particular Q is 1, Q bar will be 0, and Q bar is driving the gate of this transistor M1. So if the gate is 0, transistor is a open circuit. So if the transistor is open circuit, VCC, the current flowing from the VCC will all flow outside the 8051 pin. Okay, the IO pin of that port 1, whichever is connected, it will be continuously flowing from here to the out. Okay, here this is a write 1 operation. Similar way, writing of 0 can be also done. So writing of 0, how it is done? See here. Again, read latch will be there because it will be reading inside from the latch only, and read pin will be inactive. So this buffer is inactive. It is not driving the latch. Write 0 to the pin because that internal bus is bringing 0. That 0 will be there here, and we are doing the write operation. So this will be high. The clock will be there. Clock is there, and D is 0. So with that one, next state of Q becomes 0, and opposite to that one, Q bar will be 1, and this 1 will make this transistor on, and if the transistor is on, it will have the passage of that current to the ground here. So current will not flow outside the pin, but it will be grounded like this, and due to this, the potential at this point, this particular pin will be 0. So logic 0 will be transmitted from the processing side of the 8051 to the pin as a 0 like this. Okay, so this is about writing a 0 output on an output pin. Now let us see how to read the input pins. So reading the input pins here, first of all you have to understand that writing of the latch will be carried out the same way only. These 3 pin configurations you have to understand whenever we are reading the input pin. So the configurations are, you can see that read pin will be high because we are reading the pin, not the latch itself. Okay, so read latch will be 0 because we are not looping that reading latch thing here, not required, because write to the latch will be active because that will trigger the particular clock. Okay, here we see that we are reading, and reading what? Trying to read a high signal coming from that pin. So from that pin, a high signal is coming inside, and here, because of this configurations you have to understand, let us go here only first. This one will come here, the logic 1, this tri-state buffer. This time this particular read pin tri-state buffer is on, so it will send that signal 1 here also. That one signal will be traveled into the D latch here. So this latch this time is reading this particular logic here. So logic 1 here, the latch has read 1. Okay, and it will be there in this latch till the processing unit of the 8051 takes the data inside the execution unit. Okay, so this is this particular thing, or any of the registers also. From this latch it can move to the any register also, that particular value of that input. Same way, reading a low signal. Reading a low signal is also similar kind of a thing. Reading a low signal, obviously because of internal thing that it previous state was 1, this previous state of 1, this Q bar will be 0, and this gate will be inactive. Also you have to understand that here we are not reading latch, we are reading the pin. So due to that one, the internal looping will not happen. Every time the value of that next state is not updated with the same thing. So due to that one, this particular transistor is off, and this signal is coming from this tri-state buffer, and here this time 0 is loaded into the D latch. Okay, and we are reading from the pin only, so this looping will not happen. Here we are not reading from this side, we are reading from this particular side. Okay, and as this we are not reading again, it will not be loaded with one the 0 value again. It will remain 0 and the output will be 0, and that is out. This looping will not happen basically when we read. When we write, this looping will happen. This looping, continuous update of this value will happen. For writing operations, continuous update of this value will not happen, but continuous update from this side it will happen. Okay, basic concept is that whenever we are writing, we'll use this read latch to update that latch for a value what we want to write to that port. And when we want to read the particular pin, instead of looping that read latch, will be just disabling that one, and will be enabling only read pin will be high, so that signal data coming into the D latch or updation of the D latch will be through this input pin. So here we are not writing it, instead we are reading it from this directly. So that is about the read and write signal in the pin, the port pins of the 8051. Next, let us talk about the other pins, specifically port 0 pins. You have to be understanding very clearly. Port 1, port 2, port 3, they have the internal pull-up resistors connected. Internal pull-up resistors connected means something like this particular load connected between VCC and that pin. Internally it will be there for your port 1, port 2 and port 3, but for port 0 it will not be there. The reason is the port 0 is already having the dual functions that it has to demultiplex AD lines, address and data dual functions are there. So basically not dual but 3 functions are there on that particular port 0. So they have to work as address bus, lower 8 bits of address bus, they have to work as a 8-bit data bus, they have to work as a bidirectional input output pins. So that is why internally it is not pulled up, because if it is internally pulled up, they will be working in only one fashion and the other functioning will be difficult to assign to them. So that is why it is not internally pulled up. We have to externally use a pull up resistors whenever we wish to use this port 0 as a input output port. Otherwise it will work as a address data lines in the 8051 system. In the cases whenever we want to use this port 0 as an input output pins, we have to make a setup of external pull up resistors. Okay, array of 8 resistors also will be available in the market, just you have to use them and connect it to the VCC. That configuration also I'll show you how it is connected. Why it is so? Because the port 0 is an open drain type of configuration. Open drain or open collector configuration you have, you know already, you have studied already that one. So open drain is similar to the open collector configuration. Port 0 is an open collector configuration system. Here we will compare P1X and P0X things. We'll see how that open drain thing is there. What difference is there between these two things are there. However, for a programmer, it is the same whether to program port 0 or port 1 or port 2 or port 3. Just in a hardware, external set of pull-up resistors will come on the pins of port 0. They will be connected one side of that array of resistors to the port pins and other side will be connected to VCC. Externally, we are pulling up that pins to the VCC with the help of resistors. All the ports upon reset are configured as output port. This is very important point here. On reset, what happens to the ports, port 0, 1, 2 and 3, they all behave as an output port, okay, on reset. Otherwise, whenever we use them, we have to configure them as an input port. And for input port configuration, you have seen in earlier slide also, here, when we have seen this read operations are going on, you have to move that port value with the FFH. So we have to make them high. So when we make them high, this thing happens. When we make them high, the output of that Q becomes 1. Okay, that you might have noticed here also. This write operations, we are not writing that move port comma 11 because they have to be worked as an output port. When it has to work as an input port, we are pre-writing that port with the 1. So when we are writing this move P1 comma 0 FFH, so we are making all the pins of P1 as FF, that is 1. So that means internal latches we are making 1. So when these latches are 1, this Q will be 1 and Q bar will be 0 and this transistor is off. Okay, for this purpose we will have to write this particular thing. So always remember this one. So writing this 1 1 out of that port will make that port as an input port. Coming back to this particular slide here, you can see that on reset what we are telling that all the ports will be configured as output port. So here is an understanding given to you that how this port 0 differs from the other ports. Why it is an open drain, we call that one. So here you see in the port 1, earlier also we see that internal there will be a resistor connected to VCC, but in port 0 this transistor M1 will be something like this. Okay, the collector side of the transistor, in this case as it's a FET device, the drain side of this particular transistor will be open, it will not be connected to the VCC. Okay, so this type of thing will be there. Apart from that, the functionality of the working will be exactly same as of the other ports in the port 0 also. The only thing is there, whenever you wish to use the port 0 as input output port, you have to take an external one resistor, connect that resistor one point here to the drain of this transistor, another point you have to take it to the VCC. Okay, this is how it is done. So port 0, pins 0 to 7, all when we want to use together as an input output port, all together this particular set of resistors will come as an we call that one as a resistor relay. Many parallel resistors will be there, basically saying Each one of that one end will be connected to the port pin, another end of that all will be shorted together and will connect that one to the VCC. Okay, this is a hardware connection. Anyhow, earlier also told that for a programmer using port 0, port 1, port 2 and port 3 is not at all any difference is there. Only the hardware thing that external this pull-up resistor set we require. Okay, each that resistor value is also indicated that it should be 10 kilo ohm resistors value will be there. Here you can see that multiple IC names are written. They're all the different microcontrollers of the 8051 family. Different names, different microcontrollers of 8051 family they have. Okay, in all 8051 family microcontrollers, generally this port 0 will be like this only, open drain type of configuration where you have to use a external pull-up resistor set. So these are the alternative functions on port 3. In our last class also we have discussed about this port 3 special functions, alternative functions on port 3. Port 0 and port 1, they are the dedicated reception and transmission line respectively, pin number 10 and 11. So we have a serial port in 8051. So that serial port is a full duplexed, and full duplexed serial communication means should have a dedicated line for transmission and a dedicated line for receiving. So this dedicated line for receiving is at pin number 10, port 3.0, and this transmission line is port 3.1, that is pin number 11. Next two pins here, pin number 12 and 13, they are the external interrupt pins. Okay, these are the hardware external interrupt request pins, similar to that INTR pin in the 8086. I'm giving the reference of 8086 every time because we have studied that in our previous unit, and it makes our understanding easy when we use that references. Next two pins, pin number 14 and 15, are your inputs for the timers. Whenever your timers are used as in counters, so that counter input, what it counts basically will be the signal at this particular lines. Timer 0 will be counting the signal at pin number 14, that is P3.4, and timer 1 will be counting the signals coming at the P3.5, that is pin number 15. And next two are your read and write memory control signals. So it shows whether the microcontroller is reading or writing. Okay. So lastly, before we conclude this class, I have told you earlier that we shall talk about the on reset, what happens to the different resistors in the 8051 microcontroller. In the 8051 microcontroller, the status of different resistors you can see. PC is the program counter register. It's a 16-bit register, so its value will be 0000H upon reset. ACC, accumulator register, register A. Okay, it is called as a register A, or you call that one as accumulator. So its value will be 00 because that's an 8-bit register. Similarly, the register B is also 8-bit, so that will be 00. Program status word, it's a 8-bit program status word. Different flag bits will be there upon this program status word. We shall see about individual flag bits of program status word in detail, but all the flag bits will be made 0. Next is the stack pointer. Stack pointer will be pointed to 07H. So it will be pointing to 8th bit location from 0 side. It will not be pointing to 0 basically. So stack pointer is a little bit here different in the way that in 8086 stack pointer was pointing to the 00. Okay, upon reset, all zeros basically. Here it is pointing to 07H. Okay. Next is DPTR, data pointer register. This one I have told you that it will be used whenever we are having data pointing operations into the external memory connected to the 8051. So that also will be made 0 upon reset. Internal RAM, 128 byte of RAM will be there. So all the RAM will be made 0. All the 128 byte locations will be made 0 upon reset. All the input output ports of 8051 will be configured as output port upon the reset. Okay. So this is about the today's class. We shall stop here. That will be all for this particular class. Thank you. See you in the next class. Bye.